it's gonna be a tug of war back and forth between the pirates and the hackers and
Oh yeah,
whatnot. I mean, you got to give them credit for trying to protect their investment. You know what I mean?
of
Some people are
course.
gonna get away with it. It's just they have to factor that into their financial plan. So it's like, okay, we know an eighth of the community is gonna pirate our stuff, so we have to at least try to mitigate the blow by trying something. We can't fault them for that.
Yeah.
But all right, moving on to Sony. Now this is where you Sony fanboys out there who are like Microsoft this and Nintendo that. I'm about to bake your noodle for a second. Now the new PlayStation, aka codename Orbis, will not be backwards compatible at all. Now wow. First of all, why? And second of all, why, you're going to be moving the console? Like, that's been your strongest selling point, Sony. Like, why would you take away the compatibility with your PS3? Nelson, Demiso, go ahead.
Right. It goes back to the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3. When PlayStation 3 first came out, people were buying PlayStation 3s, but they weren't buying PlayStation 3 games. So they were playing their PlayStation 2 games on their PlayStation 3. And you saw over time that Sony gradually phased out the backwards compatibility feature on their PlayStation 3 console to get people to play the PlayStation 3 games. So instead of having the feature right out the box, they're just going to go like, you know what? If you want to play your PlayStation 3 games, stay with your PlayStation 3. But we're not going to offer this feature on a brand new console. We want you to buy our new console so you play our new games. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Nelson, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm a huge fan of backwards compatibility because that's the main reason why I bought a PS3, because I was not convenient enough to still have a PlayStation 2. So I relied on the PlayStation 3 to handle all my backwards compatibility with PlayStation 1 and about 80% of the library for the PlayStation 2. The way, if they do what Demizzle says and they market it to the point where they are forcing you to buy only their new product and throw away the old product, so slightly, in my opinion, it's not going to work out because you have a lot of people who are old school and they just like to play old school games from time to time. They like that nostalgia feeling, and it just gives them more comfort. Like, all right, what happened if my console breaks? I'm gonna have to go out and buy a $600-700 machine just so I can play my PS2 games again. So they want everything to be in one package console. And I guarantee if they do this and they make it right, there will be more people coming to the PS3 and not trying to go back and forth between Xbox and PC.
Like, plus, think about this. Like, if they phase out backwards compatibility, that leaves, because look what they did with the PlayStation 2 when they phased out backwards compatibility. Like, oh, you can play your PlayStation 2 games. We're just going to have them, like, on demand so you can download them. Like, you'll have to buy them again.
Yeah.
So they're going to do, I can see that happening with the PlayStation 4. Like, eventually, within a year or two of the system's life cycle, there'll be such a demand for, like, oh, we want to play our PlayStation 3 games. Like, okay, you can play your PlayStation 3 games, but you're going to
have to pay for it.
You're going to pay $15 to $20 just to play those games again in digital content. And that's how they're going to trap people. They're going to sucker those people in.
Yeah, that's kind of wrong because you know what I think? I think about specific titles. Metal Gear Solid, Guns of the Patriots. That excellent game for me. Some people may not think that, but for me that was one of the reasons why I went and purchased a PS3. Then newly released games like we got Prototype coming out soon. We have Street Fighter Cross Tekken recently released, Ninja Gaiden 3. These new games, and they won't even last like 2 years. Going into the next console, then you can't use them. What's the point in buying the newer games for the now obsolete consoles and knowing you can't use them going forward? Like it's gonna be kind of like they're gonna be stalling for the customers to move on because it's like, okay, if the backwards compatibility for me, if it was there, I'd be more comfortable to go get it because I can buy one or two of their games and still have access to my other library. I don't want to have like my living room flooded with consoles. I want to be able to keep the most I keep out are 3 consoles. And when you have to add 4 or 5 on, they're taking away the convenience, the flexibility for the consumer.
I feel you because for the longest time I had my original Xbox hooked up along with my Xbox 360 because even though the Xbox 360 was backwards compatible, it wasn't backwards compatible with the games that I played the majority of the time until like they released the final backwards compatibility update, and then they finally added the majority of the games that I played on my Xbox. So then I could put the Xbox in the closet. But for Sony, that's going to be their strategy because that was the hang up from the PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3. They were like, geez, like we're still selling PlayStation 2s, but we want to get people interested in this new technology, and we kind of trapped ourselves by making it backwards compatible because the PlayStation 2 had a very, very strong library. And at the time, PlayStation 3, let's be honest, their launch library for the first year and a half sucked a dick.
Yes, it did. You sound like Cool Breeze for a second. Hey, shout out to you, Cool Breeze. Hopefully you're watching.
Oh man.
Yeah, Nelson, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, from that thought, it's really hard to do that to the consumer because, like as you stated before, you don't want to have so many consoles just to play all these games. You want to at least center everything to a minimum, like how we have the PS3 now and how we have the Xbox 360 and we have the Nintendo Wii. For the Wii, I have backwards compatibility along with the Virtual Console. The Xbox 360 has backwards compatibility with some of its old titles, and same thing with the PS3. That's okay. Don't make me have to go out, force me to move on from what I grew up on, what I loved, and just start a whole new cycle. I'm from the old generation. I'm from like the early 90s when games were good. Not in this new shitty generation where you fucking give me a 3-hour game and I'm paying full price.
It's all studio based. It's like, like you're paying for like a game interactive movie type thing, you know what I mean? So it's like the length of the games is considerably cut in favor of movie studio quality stuff.
Yeah, but I hope they don't think that we're fucking stupid and have short attention spans or something like that, because I certainly don't. I would sit there and play the game non-stop. And if that's what they're doing in the direction of the new generation of kids, like, they don't need to play this game that long. We'll just slap a 3-hour game. Yeah, they'll buy it $60.
That instant gratification generation.
But okay, another point, nMo fans, that I want to touch on with the new PS console is the fact that Sony got smart. Now, if you watch for the last 6 years how Anomaly me and him used to go back and forth when he was on the show with, how Sony set their system up, and, I think Sony got smart, but they probably shot themselves in the foot too, where now they're leaving the whole cell architecture for their CPU. They're actually dumping that in favor of a more designer-friendly environment. Now, that can be a good thing for developers all around the board, because I guess Sony figured they're gonna have to do this, because you see what happened with Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Castlevania Lords of Shadow, where the PS3 requires so much more time to develop for. It can kind of, put the developers in a situation where they have to do the PS3 version first and then port over so that they can meet the deadlines. So I guess by them making it now more designer friendly, they can all get the same attention. But now you're allowing your competitor, which is Microsoft and Nintendo, to get more time, from, like, for instance, Capcom or Konami or, THQ. Now everybody should be going to be on a level playing field when it comes to time allocated for development of the game. So, Nelson, what do you think about that? With Sony taking a different approach to their GPU and CPU development.
Well, it's definitely a smart way of handling things now instead of them being behind like that how they always are in launch, because every time when Sony releases a product, it's always like backfires right in their fucking face. So for them doing this will be a step ahead to get in the competition, like fast forward, like they will be dominant off the bat now. I guarantee with the PlayStation 4 there will be no more, hopefully I don't eat my own words. Hopefully there will be no more downfalls, shitty launches for Sony. This will probably be their true successful launch to get ahead of Microsoft and Nintendo.
Okay. And, I'll have you guys know, I believe Sony's system will actually launch before the new Xbox successor. And that's unheard of because you know how normally Sony hangs back and they wait to see what the rest of the guys are doing, and then they come out like, hey, we're going to one-up you.
Yep.
This is kind of ballsy now that they're actually, going to step out. Like, I believe Nintendo's is, the Wii U is supposed to launch first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming this year, this November.
Okay, and then you have the PlayStation Orbis, which is supposed to come out the following year, and then the Xbox system. So how do you think that will play into the strategic makeup for how the companies are attacking the market? I'll let Demizo go and then Nelson.
Well, for Sony, they're kind of forced into launching earlier than they want to because Microsoft has been dominating the worldwide sales for like the past 18 months. And Sony...
But actually, you know what? In Japan, Microsoft was still, hanging in third place,
But, worldwide overall, they're still dominating Sony. Like, they've been, like, in terms of worldwide sales, they've beaten Sony out for the past 18 months. The Wii has fallen by the wayside, so they're forced to...
It was a fad. Like,
they're forced to come with a comparable console to the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, but I think that's a wrong move by them. But getting back to Sony, they're forced into going away from the PlayStation 3 sooner than they wanted to because the PlayStation 3 was they literally invented new technology for the sake of a console, whereas the Microsoft Xbox 360 used the high end of current existing technology, so they were making money off their console sooner. Sony didn't start making money off their console until about like a year and a half ago, but due to Microsoft having this lead and them like look on TV, and the majority of ads you see for video games are Microsoft Xbox 360 ads. You rarely see a Sony Move ad, or like unless it's an exclusive game through Sony, you rarely see a PlayStation 3 ad. Microsoft
that's very true.
is just crushing it right now, and Sony has no answer for them outside of launching a new console.
And you know what? The big up to Shinwar, they're getting blown up. Or aka Butex, how they were describing people getting their ass kicked.
For Nintendo with the Wii U, they're supposed to rename it at E3. Like the market doesn't have confidence in Nintendo that the Wii U will succeed because the day after it was announced at E3. Nintendo stock dropped 15% over that week after it was announced. So there's no confidence that this thing will succeed because they're relying on the same thing that got the Wii's into home, which was a gimmick. And
then you got the Kinect, and that pretty much did everything what the Wii can do, but better.
And plus, like, you've got a console that's not that much more powerful than a PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360. It's like, in terms of power, it's like going from an Xbox to a PlayStation 2. It's slightly more powerful, but it's not going to cause people to like just drop their PlayStation 3s and